First of all, I know that you are currently playing a North American tour. How is it going? Are you happy with the live shows you have played so far?
Very happy, honestly. I was really impressed with how quickly people got the lyrics to the new songs, and the response has been really nice.
Okay. Know all the lyrics or your lyrics, the public.
Yeah, and that's a nice feeling because the songs are so new. So that was very encouraging. And then also I really felt like the a lot of the songs on the new record are very melodic, and I like a very high energy show. I like a lot of stage dives and stuff like that. So I was hoping that we wouldn't lose any of that. And so far we haven't lost any. It's a very nice feeling to see everybody going crazy for new songs. So I'm pretty encouraged, to answer your question.
Wow, incredible. Okay, and are there many COVID restrictions such as face mask or social distancing now?
No, so the United States has dropped almost all of those across the board. When we started the tour, there was still a few, maybe 2 states that still had rules of that type. But now it's establishment to establishment, venue to venue, and none of them at this moment that we've played have had those type of restrictions. So it's a very different world than it was even 5 months ago, I guess, when we went out in the maybe October.
In October, autumn.
And it was fun shows then, but there was still a lot of latent anxiety in the crowd. A lot of people that kind of didn't know if they were doing the responsible thing by going to a show or not. But it seems like everybody, for better or for worse, I'll let your listeners decide, but it seems like everybody has forgotten that
COVID is the past, no? Future is no social distancing, no face mask.
I think everybody in the United States, I don't know how it is in Europe, but everybody in the United States seems to have pivoted to the idea of World War III being the biggest concern.
Maybe. I want to tell about this, and then I want to ask you about your opinion about Ukraine. Okay. You have recently released your album Hygiene. The first thing that caught my eye is the cover with an orange and an eye. What are you trying to get across with the album cover?
So the idea that I think we sent, so we've worked with the same designer and photographer for the last 3 records, I think. And this one was the idea of what we wanted to put forward was the idea of hygiene, and specifically mental hygiene. Mental. Like it's which is, I think, the biggest impact that the pandemic had on a great number of people, and probably
depression, on mental illness. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And doing this type of things to just keep, like, look, I don't got any right talking about mental health stuff. I don't suffer from any type of the major ones that people get, but I noticed that a lot of people I know were just picking up little unhealthy habits, little unhealthy ways of conducting themselves over the pandemic. Like, a lot of people started drinking more. A lot of people put on weight. A lot of people got alienated, stopped talking to people that mean something to them. People pulled inward, and for a lot of people, the only outlets that they had were these like social media outlets. And those are spaces that reward the most extreme thing you can say. So if you're put in a situation where you are not speaking to people in real life very often, and you're drinking all day, and you're gambling all night on a poker website or whatever. And
are you straight edge or not?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay. I understand you. Okay, yeah.
I'm making more sense now.
I am not an straight age, but I understand you because depend on your mental health, your routine day depend on. Metallica said that your
lifestyle determines your
determines your
sure.
style. No, it's
well. Here's the thing. What do you call him? A nutritionist told me this once. He said everybody gets hung up on how they're going to die, but they should really be worrying about how they're going to live the last 20 years of their life. You know what I mean? And there's a lot to be said for that. There's because things can get scary if you don't take care of yourself. And you know, in punk, we've got like a very like live fast, die young sort of thing going on. But I'm getting older, and I hate to break it to people. A lot of people just keep living, and it's not their best life. You know what I mean? Like they didn't get the benefit of dying young and kind of you know, like it looks glorious in some way. Instead, it's a depressing sort of spiral, slow spiral downward, you know? So this is all to say that the record was inspired at least a little bit by people that, you know, it could be anything. It could, like I said, it could just be like not making an effort to interact with people in a positive or life-affirming way.
Positive mental attitude, as
yes, well said.
H2O,
yes.
no?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
We can thank the bad brains for my worldview.
Perfect. Okay, another thing that caught my attention is that the word "Fang" appears twice in the song titles. Do you want to tell us something by repeatedly including the word "Fang"? Or is just a happy coincidence? A happy coincidence.
Oh, so in some respects, a happy coincidence. So I work a job while we tour. So I'm often on a computer, and I am no fun, and
no fun,
no fun at all. And so when my bandmates are having a good time and being rowdy or whatever the hell it is. The second that something it goes too far, or something breaks, or they get us kicked out of a hotel, or whatever the hell it is, I get very sour, and they go, "Oh no, fun's over." You know what I mean? Because because I'm
positive message, but no fun at the same time.
No fun. I mean, I truly. If you know, people come to our shows and they have a good time, and they see me, and I'm having a good time at our shows, certainly. But like, if they could see me the second I get off the stage, I'm usually back to some type of work and not fun. Like, you know, I think that you know, the older generations maybe still think that there's like some type of like partying or whatever after a show, but my experience is the exact opposite. I want to watch after a show. I want to watch YouTube for half an hour, then go to bed. And before a show, I just want to work. so okay, I'm not exactly a wild man.
Okay. Talking about the musical part, I really like it. The song Detective Lieutenant. In my opinion, it seems to have influences from British bands like The Cure or The Smiths. Do you consider these bands to be a big influence for you? The Cure and
so 100% The Smiths. Wow. The Cure is a bit, even though there's a lot of that kind of glassy guitar tone on our record, and certainly there's that song in particular has a very Cure-ish riff for sure. That's a little less intentional, but certainly that the Smiths Johnny Marr style is something that our guitarists in Drug Church are like, they imprinted on that at a very young age. They love that. That makes complete sense to their brains. And you know, of course, lyrically,
more we say is influences in the way. Okay.
There's few in that kind of highly listenable, almost pop world who have more incisive, kind of sharper lyrics than Morrissey. So certainly, I think both musically and lyrically a definite influence.
Okay. What is the song of the album that is working best in the live shows?
It's a good question. World Impact, which is very choppy, very bouncy.
I like it, this song.
Yeah, I do too.
It's about your experiences in the streets, in your neighborhood, or
No, listen, I'm a very soft man. I haven't been in a fight in decades. I am, but you know, as I get older, how do I put this without insulting anybody? My family, some of my family keeps getting in trouble with dumb shit, and I always have like a kind of latent anxiety about some of the younger people in my family, and it's you know, hopefully that song doesn't apply to them, but it's this idea that there is such a thing as like a doomed kid. You know what I mean? There is such a thing as like a kid who never had a chance, and that's a very depressing idea to me. And I don't know why I chose to make it a bouncy punk song, but it's something that I'm always thinking about, is this idea that for some people I believe that anybody can do something to change their situation, but for some people it's like they're just on a track towards the worst possible outcome. You know, so that's what that one's about.
Your sharp new butterfly knife, purchased from a discount site. Stitch jacket and what it invites. Kids have such curious minds. Just another schoolyard beef, another fight between drug scenes. This one starts and stays ugly. $30 of steel in his spleen. There are things that you see coming, rolling like slow-moving trains. Engine down, city bus on a one-way. Little point in changing lanes. 3 years stretch into feet. Just sit and keep your nose clean. Work your tracks and avoid beatings. Rework your inner workings. 18 and out the door. Cold waiting on your mom front porch. Yoga mat on her basement floor. Big nothing's what you have in store. Can't avoid it now. Collision. Body strewn around. Collision. Chorus coming in. Collision. No up there now. There are things that you see coming, rolling like slow-moving trains. Some stay while others are running, but they're crushing for just gains.
And why do you think these songs work so well in the live shows?
I think it's just got that, like, it starts very immediate. So it's not like there's like a build up. It's, you immediately understand what the song is about, which is something that I like in a song. Some of my bandmates really like a long intro, that they like this kind of, this building tension. I like to get immediately to what the song is, and you get to make a decision right then and there if you like it. You know what I mean? And I think that that's what that song does straight away, is if you like that choppy sort of thing, this is a song for you. And if not, I guess you're going to have to stand there quietly for 2 minutes.
Okay. Finally, I would like to know how the war in Ukraine is thought about in the USA. What is your opinion?
Well, my opinion is that imperialist ambitions of any type in 2022 are embarrassing, and I believe that it is a remnant of a ugly past that we shouldn't be striving to revisit. So in that respect, I believe that Russia is completely in the wrong. Yeah. However, I do believe also that there was some irresponsibility, particularly on NATO's part, leading up to this. Yeah,
both of them, NATO and Russia, no?
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Is basically it's the same situation as always. You've got people in NATO who don't care about the people on the ground, and you've got Vladimir Putin who doesn't give a shit about anybody on the ground. And it's the sadness of all wars, right? Where you have normal people being pushed against each other in this violent clash for nobody's benefit except for the ego of monsters. So it is to me it is I'm sure that every listener of this program agrees, it's just a deeply unfortunate, it feels very retrograde, feels like a moment that we did not have to revisit in this part of the world. It makes me real. No? Yeah, exactly.
We came back to the last century, to Second World War and Stalin. Precisely. And all the dictators, no?
It feels like an artifact and like a very ugly one. In the United States, regarding the temperature here on this matter, it's very complex because there's not a person alive who doesn't sympathize with the Ukrainians at this moment. Yeah. But there's also, we have a very irresponsible news media in the United States that is almost pushing us towards a major conflict. And to the Ukrainians that might be listening to this, I fully understand why you can't give a shit about that. You need to live today. So if to the Ukrainians that are insisting on a no-fly zone to be backed by the United States, I am completely sympathetic. However, observing this from a situation where I am not in dire peril as they are, I can say that a no-fly zone is it's a prelude to war. It's a prelude to an international conflict.
Yes, a prelude. Yeah. It seems to be.
And here's the most disgusting thing. I'm going to get very emotional if we continue talking about this because I get very. There's a monument that I get very. I don't even know. Like I'll start getting a little wet in the eyes if I talk about it. There's a monument it's in England, and it's to the animals who died during conflicts, during wars. And it's just a big slab of stone with some animal relief in the stones, and it just says they had no choice. And it's a deeply upsetting sentiment, right? But we apply that to animals because that's true. They had no choice. But for just normal human beings, there is often no choice. And people are being forced into these circumstances that are purely inhuman, again, for the benefit of no one. You know what I mean? And, but we are in this truly, we are in a no-win situation. And I don't wish to say that the Americans are the ones suffering. That is not the case. It is very clearly the Ukrainians. However, we are in a no-win circumstance where doing the right thing might mean the threat of a global war. So how can I tell a bunch of Ukrainians, sorry, you have to die because I can't risk everybody else? That's a terrible choice that I don't want to have to make. And it's very frustrating that these fucking idiot leaders such as Vladimir Putin are putting people around the world, not in their country.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. when you watch a child's crying with their moms and leaving their parents, no, it's very frustrating and very sadly, no.
It's stomach turning is what it is. I've been, I try not to go too deep into the images on this one because right now I feel very helpless on it. Like I'm so impressed with the Ukrainian people for putting up the fight that they have, because I was the second that this broke out, I was like very crestfallen because I thought there was only one way this could go. And as it turns out, perhaps I was wrong, and it looks like, but the fear now, because I was listening to some analysts that I trust on this, the fear now is that Putin is not going to get what he wants. So he may just be a baby and destroy as much of Ukraine as he can on his way out. Now that's if anything sums up the egoist type of malignant narcissist personality that infects our world leaders, I would say that that's it. Hey, I didn't care about the human beings I was stepping on to get this far, and now that I can't get it, I'm going to harm you on my way out. That's a that's a nightmare. Now,
ego narcissism is very dangerous. Yeah,
very dangerous.
I agree with you. Yeah.
And I should say, in fairness, and I'm certain that there's a great deal of Ukrainian listeners who will not care for this, but in fairness, I also have to say that my sympathies are with the Russians who do not agree with this course of action, because there is, I can say from an American whose country has engaged in a number of, whether we call them conflicts or wars, over the last 20 years. We insist on calling them conflicts so we don't have to live with the larger ramifications of losing. But as an American who has lived through those decisions being made on my behalf, I can say I'm very sympathetic to the Russians who don't want anything to do with this and are being talked over by a madman.
Yeah.
I apologize for getting so heavy on that.
No. I like that you talk with fluently about this war, no? Because I want to know which is your American point of view, no? And I talk every day with my family, with my friends about this war, but it's the first time that I want to ask to American people, no?
To answer that question succinctly, I think that the Americans are very, very sympathetic to the Ukrainians, to the point where a great many Americans want to support them in any capacity. However, it's my belief that our news media is being irresponsible in not describing what the ramifications of that may be. So that's about where that stands in the U.S.
Yeah. And do you think that this war changed the touring plans of American band? It could be change the plans, the touring Europe plans.
I don't believe so, although there was a tiny bit of trepidation because, as you know, everybody's summer plans are being hammered out now. A lot of festivals in Europe. It's a thing that bands kind of build into their yearly plans. And if those don't happen, there's going to be a great many bands who are kind of scrambling at the last second to make something work in the United States. But I've only heard a little whisper of that. I haven't heard anybody cancel anything yet. We were just asked if we'd like to go to Poland. I imagine that some of those plans, I imagine that booking agents will probably be a tiny bit uncomfortable with going that close. To be frank with you, I would still do that, but I wouldn't blame somebody who felt uncomfortable with it. I think that there's going to be some bands who have lost. I'm going from something very serious like war to something that is largely unserious, which is bands' financial status. But there's a lot of American bands who were very badly hurt financially by COVID, and a lot of them are really gun shy about any tour that could be canceled, because the thing that a lot of people don't think about is canceling a tour isn't just you go home and everything's normal. It's typically, some bands actually rely on the money that's made on tour, but every band that took that time off can't just slide back into a position at home if they had just said, "Oh, I'm going to need 6 weeks off," and now I'm coming home after 7 days. A lot of people were. So what I'm saying is, a great number of bands in the U.S. are now only doing sure things. They are only engaging in.
I understand this situation, and at the same time, you can play in USA without any COVID restrictions.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of bands may opt to play it safe this summer and not go to Europe and have to potentially have these other concerns. But a great many will still. Europe is such a nice place, and bands really enjoy playing there. So I think the majority of bands will conduct themselves as normal.
Okay. Will you soon in Spain? Maybe in a future, we see you soon in Spain or not?
So we just got a European, or we just got a UK and very limited European dates provided to us. And we're gonna say okay or no to those probably today. Like I said, we just got asked to do Poland, and I'm going to talk to the booking agent and see if we can't make that happen. But I love Spain. I think that so it's a very, I'll be honest, it's a very annoying country to tour because you have to drive through France, and France has the worst tolls of any place I've ever been in my entire life. They have their highways have a toll, I would say, well, you guys don't do miles. It's a very frequent tolls, and it's
wow.
These countries are bigger than in the United States. We don't understand the size of some of these countries. Like Spain, for example, is a relatively large country. If it was a state, it would be a very large state.
Wow.
So we tend to see Europe as these tiny little, on a map, it's all bunched together, and we don't understand that these are actual drives. And in Spain, how many cities would you say are viable?
Madrid or
locations?
Barcelona? Madrid, Barcelona.
Yeah,
exactly. The main places, yeah.
Exactly. And then I believe I've played on the northern coast with my other band once. Or, not northern coast, northern border of Portugal, rather. So,
yeah. Lisbon,
but but let me just say this to your listeners, and I don't pander. I don't tell people who I don't like that I like them. Spanish people, in my view, have the closest sensibility to Americans as in Europe. And
maybe.
I spent a few days in Madrid, and I was totally blown away at how everybody there just wanted to have a good time. I was shocked. And the sense of humor was much more extreme than the United States. So like if you make a joke in Germany as an American,
it's different.
You stand the chance of offending somebody. There's a gap, right? There's a little bit of a sensibility gap. But in Spain, I was the least offensive person that I interacted with in Spain. You know what I mean? Everybody.
Maybe
everybody in Spain
it's possible that the sense of humor is similar than American. Maybe I never thought about it, but it's possible.
This is what I believe, because it's a lot of Spanish people have the very fun habit of saying the most extreme thing they can, like to get a laugh, and I think that's like a very funny thing to do. So I loved. I liked Spain as a place. Obviously, Barcelona, very beautiful. Madrid, maybe not beautiful, but very exciting and a fun place. And you also have. You remind me of the American Southwest. You like the interior of your country reminds me of the American Southwest. I guess that makes sense, right? Spaghetti Westerns are kind of like that. Your part of the world is kind of given to this cactus sort of energy, you know. Yeah, and so I hope that we do get an opportunity to come to Spain soon, because
Okay.
I enjoy the hell out of it.
We wait for you, and we wait for Drag Church. Okay, for Spanish people, you are a great band with a great album, and this is your home. When you want, Spain is your home.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate the offer.
Okay, thanks for your time, Patrick. It's a pleasure for me, and I hope that your new live shows, it will be successful, and you have funny times with the band.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you having me.
Okay, thanks.
Have a good evening.
Thanks.